Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something. It means something. I am Kevin Lieber. This is a day of mourning for multiple reasons. And with me,
It
as
is.
always, is Matthew Tabor.
It is. You know, I have been out of the country for the most part for the last I don't know 6 weeks. Right. I had a brief return, but I'll tell you this, Kevin. I'll tell you this: the country I returned to last night is not the same country that was here when I left. Do you know what's different? It would be tempting. It would be tempting for you to talk about things in the Middle East, but that's not the problem.
No,
That's not the actual crisis in our lives right now, is it?
well, I don't know what crisis is in my life, what crisis is in yours.
Well, I was sitting in a moderately hard bed in Argentina. It was late at night, and I was doom scrolling as you do, and I saw an announcement that shocked me. It shocked me, and I couldn't believe it was true. The one that I saw was sort of that rumory, like one line thing that's like sources say kind of thing. Like, no, you've got to, this is dumb. This is dumb. It's not possible that this could be true because I know from just months ago that we were told it would be there for a long time, that we'd be happy and fulfilled. And so I'm saying, definitely not. A few minutes later, we get the video. We get the actual. We get the video from the two greats detailing it, and then it's, oh, this is real.
Well, I need to say that I didn't know we were jumping right into Smiling Friends being
We
over.
don't have
I
to.
thought you were going to start talking about the big arch. That's what I thought the big. I thought that was your reveal, was the big arch.
No, no, I did
Okay.
have it, and it was. I'll tell you, the sauce was really good. I would have made it smaller, so I enjoyed this, and I thought I wasn't going to get it because I had like I have to kind of prepare for eating, where I can't just like eat and eat like I used to.
You
I don't
tie
know
your
what's
bib,
changed.
the lobster bib around your neck.
I have to like I can't overeat. I can't like eat consecutively. I just can't, right? And so I had this plan. You know, there's a McDonald's on the drive home from the airport that's like 20 minutes from my house. I'm like, this is great. I will pick it up then. Then I'll get home, and then I'll have in my own home finally again a big arch. I look forward to this for weeks, weeks, and some people got it early. Eggy, for example, it was released by him before it was that March 3rd release. And I thought, oh, maybe in Buenos Aires they will have the big arch. They did not, but they do have their own stuff that honestly was amazing. The quality of beef in Argentina is fantastic, and it was the best fast food. Ben of producer Ben fame and I wanted to go see what McDonald's was like, and it blew us away. I got the turbo bacon. I got a turbo bacon, which was fantastic. But yeah, anyway, it was really good. But I would have made it smaller because the sauce is so good. The sauce to like overall burger ratio, I would have compressed it so that the sauce stood out more. So if you go to get a big arch, if you haven't had one yet, you can ask them. They might not say yes, but say, would you mind doing another squirt on that? Can you go heavy on the sauce? If you do that,
Don't phrase it that way,
it's
though.
you can put it in your own words if you'd like.
Yeah, thank you.
It depends on
Yeah.
your personal proclivities and style, but just ask for that. Just say, hey, can you go heavy on the sauce, extra sauce? I think you'll like it more. But it was really good. I would have lowered the price point and I would have made it slightly smaller,
Okay.
and then it would have been a banger.
All right. So that's your review of the big
Yes.
arch. So another thing in terms of mourning that has occurred before we get to Smiling Friends, that I wanted to mention was the passing of Dan Simmons,
Oh yes.
who was an author that, like, single-handedly, I would say, got me back into reading
Mhm.
2 different times in my life. One probably 15 plus years ago, when my brother recommended that I read Hyperion. He read Hyperion. He's like, I just know that you will like this. I wasn't reading much of anything at that time, and he was like, I just read this for actually Hyperion and the second one, Fall of Hyperion. They're kind of like one book. So I read it and I was blown away, and I was like, this is awesome. And then went through a big reading lull when I decided I needed to start reading again because I was writing a book. The first person I went back to was Dan Simmons. I went back to my brother, and that because it was in my memory. I was like, who was the last author that I read that I really, really enjoyed? It was him. And he has like 30, he wrote like 31 books, and so many of them are great. So then I read The Terror and Summer of Night. The Terror was actually made into a limited AMC series, which you can watch if you're much more of a TV person rather than a reader.
It's on Amazon as well. Season 1 is on Amazon.
That's all you
Season
need.
2 requires the AMC Plus subscription.
Season 2 is some other thing. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, because it's not part of the book, is it? The book is exclusively the Arctic stuff, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. So
the second one is like a Japanese internment camp or something.
Yeah, I have no idea what that second season is
Yeah,
at all. It's not the book, the Dan Simmons book.
I watched season 1 last week. Last week I did.
Oh, weird.
So, yeah, so I'm actually familiar with that show because you talked about it when you watched it a while back. But then I got locked out of season 2 and wasn't willing to pony up on the AMC Plus. But yeah, it was. You had thoughts on the showification of it, right? But I remember how excited you were about reading Dan Simmons again. You know the Hyperion copy that you gave me. That was maybe 6 months ago. Is that about right?
Yeah, maybe a little longer.
Yeah, and he wasn't super old, was he?
Oh, when he passed, yeah, he was 77.
Well, that's not super old, though. I mean, Clint Eastwood
past
is
life
popping on my
expectancy.
timeline at like 93.
Yeah, Clint Eastwood, yeah, at this point is a specter.
Dick Van Dyke is 200 years old.
Yeah.
He is legitimately 100, isn't he? Didn't he turn 100 not that long ago?
Yeah, I think so. He's either 99 or 100.
Yeah.
You can round up either way.
But late 70s is it becomes a little bit of a crapshoot. So it's young, especially for writers who, man, if you can write, you don't have to be able to do a whole lot more. And so there are a lot of people who do some of their best work 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Would have been nice if he'd had a chance to keep going, but he did quite a lot in his time.
He did plenty. So I wanted to shout him out in case people listening are looking for something to read and haven't heard about Dan Simmons. The other thing that's so cool about him is he started late in life. Like he was a teacher for 20 years before he started writing books, and he was around 40 something, I believe, before he published his first book, and then published like 31 of them. So
yeah,
just something else to throw out there for our older listeners. There is hope. You can still, create for sure.
Yeah, the AARP crowd is like 80% of this audience.
Exactly.
But no, that really is a thing that I think it's actually becoming even more important that this happens cyclically with the Olympics, and it has at least as long as I've been alive. A little less now that the Olympics have professionals for sports like hockey or basketball, whatever. Almost, all the other people you hear about with Olympic competition are pretty young. The Alyssa Liu type, even though she's not a baby at this point, she's a young person who started at an extremely young age, because you have to have a great deal of practice to be a competitive person at the Olympic level at like 21, and it's really tempting to look at these people and think my opportunity to begin something and then get really good at it has passed me by. I think it would be strange for somebody in their 40s, like me, who played some NES back in the day, to think, oh, I can begin using this controller with like 800 buttons and play these insane video games and be a world-class player in 5 years. Like, that's stupid, right? It's dumb. Any sport obviously is off limits as you age. That's why I think so many people like curling, because they look at it and they say, even if they don't think it explicitly, they're like, if there was a sport that I could start at 40 and be good at, it's going to be curling.
Well, it's like ice shuffleboard, isn't it? And that's what old people do on cruises, is they play shuffleboard.
But you need tremendous time to take all of those games, things like darts. Like, you need lots and lots and lots of practice. Some people can do it late in life. But anyway, you look at a guy like Dan Simmons, who got started pretty late, had that Ricky Gervais plan where they, just didn't do it for a long time. Ken Jeong was another one. He's a legitimate medical doctor. He told a joke for the first time in his life at like 38. That's an exaggeration, but he wasn't doing comedic stuff on any scale until he was like 40. So anyway, it's really cool when you look at somebody like Dan Simmons. See, you can just do something late in the game, be good at it, and then really commit to it and pump out 30 books in 30 years. That's incredible.
Yeah. So highly recommend that. And then, of course, the other big news, which you started alluding to and I derailed you on, was the end of Smiling Friends, which was a shock. That wasn't something that any of us were expecting, especially coming off the heels of having the show announced that it was renewed for seasons 4 and seasons 5. At this point, those seasons are no longer happening. There'll be 2 more episodes to season 3 that will come out in April. Those will be the final episodes. And it was a big surprise. Just to let everybody know, I have not spoken with either Zach or Michael about this, nor have I sent them any messages regarding it, because it's really would not be the time to, hey, let's cancel the show, guys. Like, that's not a thing that I would do. That'd be pretty awkward and rude. So that
I'm sure they're
happened.
Inundated with both well-wishers and critics. There'll be a time it'll calm down. If you wait a month or 2, it's still going to be canceled. The situation here is not going to change. So there's no reason that you needed to be on it. You did a very nice thing. You had a respectful short tweet that, just showed support. That was good.
Well, it's one of those, what is the cliche of like, don't be sad it's over, be happy that it happened kind of thing. Like, it is a cliche, and it is lame, and it is live, laugh, love-ish, but
it's not wrong.
At the same time, it's not wrong. Like,
no,
you should be grateful, and I am grateful of having 3 seasons of Smiling Friends. It was awesome. What a great show.
Yeah, I replied to say to one of the announcements that I understood, but that it felt like Pearl Harbor wrapped in 9/11. And I don't think that's wrong either.
No,
I think a lot of people felt that way because I don't know where you go right now, like at this specific juncture, this moment in time, what number 2 show is now the number 1 for you in that vein, and there kind of isn't another one to take its place in that style for me. So I can understand that it would be a tremendous blow, but this has happened in the past. Jim Brown, fantastic running back, dominant running back.
Barry Sanders.
Yeah, he at least did like 10 seasons, I think. Jim Brown did a lot less and then quit to be an actor.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So much less than Barry Sanders.
Yeah, he was amazing. But most of the time, people who dip out do it for there's some reason. Sandy Koufax, the pitcher, had arthritis. I mean, he was I forget how young he was, but he might have been 30. But he was absolutely dominant. He won the Cy Young and then retired because he had arthritis and it was a problem. He could have gone longer and fought through all manners of pain. It was a different era too, where managing pain was quite a bit more difficult than it is now. But it was crazy for people to pick up the newspaper the next day and see this happen because they thought they had another 10 years of him. Barry Sanders, they thought at least 5 years. He was extremely durable, even though he was further in his career. And there's a good documentary about this on Amazon. Did you watch it? Bye Bye Barry?
No.
It's pretty good. Yeah. It was about, really his career and his decision to wrap that up. This happens occasionally, but, usually there's a precipitating type thing. There's something that kicks it off in a way that, you have that medical type reason. And that's what I'm trying to tease here is that both Zach and Michael must have terminal illnesses. No, nobody will tell. Big cartoon won't tell you this.
Right.
No. But yeah, we just didn't see it coming at all. It was very much the Jim Brown sort of thing where it's like, they had their reasons that they wanted to do something else. I thought they explained it really well in their 5-6 minute video. I thought that was great. And, I thought people were pretty respectful. They were very sad. And it's still sad on my timeline. Like all day now, I still see references to this. But most people were just like, oh, this is a bummer. I wanted the rest of my life to be Seasons of Smiling Friends. But you know what? Thank you, guys. Thank you. You did a great job. And I liked seeing that. I only saw a handful of people who I thought needed a restraining order.
Yeah. Well, I do seem to recall that pretty early on, at least I think Zach was pretty straightforward about not wanting it to be, The Simpsons and go on for 37 seasons and just turn into this shell of its former self sort of thing. So that was like, I believe clearly, in the back of their minds from the moment I think it was greenlit for season 1 that like, let's keep it good. I mean, Seinfeld did this explicitly when they ended that season, that show, I believe at season 9 it went. And it was the biggest show on television at a time where that actually meant a lot.
It really meant everything.
Yeah. To the point where I think that finale was played in like Times Square, just had, thousands of people just looking at a screen watching the end of Seinfeld. But yeah, they were like, and I think Jerry even was like, 10 seems like too much. 10 seasons, that's too big of a number. Let's end it at 9 and just be done with it.
Did you ever see the clip of Larry King interviewing Jerry Seinfeld and sort of implying that that it was canceled? They're implying that it was canceled. And Jerry's not quite angry about it, but he's kind of angry about the implication. Where he's like, this was the number 1 show on TV. We weren't canceled. We weren't canceled. We went out on top. It's just a really great exchange where you can't quite tell if Larry King was that clueless and really believed that it was canceled. And you also can't quite tell how angry and annoyed Jerry is. So it's this mystery on both sides of the internet of the interview.
I think he was actually annoyed. I mean, Jerry's like a pretty surly kind of guy. So he probably was actually annoyed by that and letting him know. But yeah, you make an interesting point about the on top thing. That's also, just to go back to sports, a thing with like John Elway retiring after winning the Super Bowl. Like that's a thing, right? Where you do want to go out on top before you end up being, Shaq on the Phoenix Suns or even, Jordan on the Wizards. And people are like, ooh, this is kind of sad.
Willie Mays on the Mets, Joe Namath on the Rams. There were some grim ones throughout decades. But I'm glad that you mentioned Jordan because he really did quit basketball when he was the most dominant best player in the sports history out of nowhere to do something else. He wanted to play baseball. He came back, but that's why the sports stuff, excuse me, the sports stuff isn't really a good parallel, because when you leave a sport, there's no alternative. Like Barry Sanders couldn't have just gone and like played another kind of football. Like, it doesn't work that way. Whereas like Jack says in the chat, that Zach and Michael are free to do whatever they want. And Michael has been doing a million things. Kevin, you and I were talking about it earlier today, the sheer amount of projects he's had in the last couple of years. So, is this
which are all good,
thing,
by the way, which are all
they're
good.
all great,
I like all
yeah.
of them. I like all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And there hasn't been anything that either guy has ever done online that isn't really funny. So this specific thing probably won't happen again. We'll see. If it does pull a Jordan and 3 years later comes back to dominate, then everybody's going to go bananas. That's cool. But they're free to separately or together do whatever is next in comedic veins. Maybe they go beyond comedy. What would be the best possible mismatch of genre for these two guys to do? Like they go to try some other kind of show.
Well, I
what
see.
would be the least appropriate fit for them?
Okay, because I know what sounds like a inappropriate fit that actually would be really great, which would be horror. Like there are a lot of successful comedically minded people who go into horror that do it really, really, really well. For I think reasons that have to do with like rhythm. I think like comedians have like a really great sense of timing. You have to be funny, and I think that translates to horror, where you also need like a really good sense of timing to make build suspense and make something scary, that sort of thing. Zach from The Whitest Kids You Know, Zach Kruger, has done this. He did comedy forever, and then he transitioned into being a director of horror films. He did Barbarian, and then he did Weapons. Now he's working on a Resident Evil movie. So I would love to see a horror project from these two guys. I think it would be amazing. I'm sure it would have that blend of humor, but also they could make something like truly terrifying and memorably grotesque. I think that they could pull that up. I mean, there's some pretty kind of grotesque stuff in Smiling Friends that they pull off like really, really well. Yeah. So it's not that much of a leap to say that.
I think I asked something unintentionally of a trick question, because the truth is that when to be funny, you have to know people in the world people and the world, not in the world, and the world extremely well, or in a really unique way. You have to see it uniquely. I'm not personal BFFs with Michael or Zach, but it's obvious to me that they're both extremely high talent people who understand the world and people enough to goof on it. That is ridiculously hard to do. And when you have people who are capable of that, they can operate in virtually any genre. So if you think, what would be, the sort of antithesis of Smiling Friends, that would be a genre mismatch, could Zach Hadel have done, the Normandy scene, the landing scene in Private Ryan as well as Spielberg? You know what? Yeah, probably. His command of history and economics and the social sciences is actually exceptional. It's not stuff that shows up in Smiling Friends, whatever, but extremely knowledgeable. And then being able to apply that to the world and its people, you can do a lot of things. Could they do a crazy rom-com that would be amazing? Yes, I believe they could. Could they do a historical drama that was just gripping? Yes, I 100% believe that they could. So whatever they do next, if it's animation, I'm sure it's going to be great. If it's you know, a history project, I bet it's going to just grab you by the throat. I don't think it matters when you're talking about people like Michael and Zach. So that softens the blow. That softens the blow a lot. Where this is not, you know, they both went out to get the mail holding hands and a bus came by and wiped them out. That's not the situation we're dealing with. They had a project that they decided to bring to an end, but we've still got the guys. We've still got the guys, and whatever comes next, I'm already a fan.
Yeah. So one of the things that I had noticed over the past year, roughly or so, I think maybe it was starting to linger prior to the release of season 3, is that it had reached such a critical mass that there was a contingency of people that could start being negative about it.
Mhm.
Like when a thing is still burgeoning and it has sort of its niche and it's growing, you don't have these vultures coming in from outside to try to receive some clout by being a jerk about something, because
Yeah.
it wouldn't work. There's no clout to be had on a project like that. Once it reaches a level, which Smiling Friends had at that point, I think after season 2, where enough people knew about it and clout could be mined by being a jerk about it, you saw some jerky stuff. So like one of the jerky things that I had seen was uh, questioning at what point Smiling Friends has or transforms into Rick and Morty, where
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
kind of cringe and like lame, and it's like not what it used to be. It doesn't have that magic anymore that it once had. Instead, it's become this commodity, this
Mhm.
commercialized, bland sort of shell of its former self. That annoyed me instantaneously. Like having spoken to Michael and Zach about this show, um, knowing them, to the degree that I do, I was just I could not be more certain that they would never let that happen. I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't know who you're talking about. You literally, and they didn't. And like I said, these are the types of people who are just trying to get like, their 17 Twitter dollars and
Yeah.
having rage bait. But I was like, there's no chance on planet Earth that these two guys would let that happen, for a lot of different reasons. Not only their own like creative integrity and stuff, which is kind of general, but the the degree to which that they want to be involved in the thing would
Mm.
make sure that it would never happen. Because like one of
This
the
is
things,
important. Yeah.
yeah, one of the things I was thought about, or before we started recording, is sort of like the life cycle of a cartoon, of an animation, which is, the creator is extremely hands-on in the beginning, and then at some point, I don't know, season 4, we'll say, they just kind of go and do something else. um, so like Seth MacFarlane with Family Guy, or Matt Groening with The Simpsons, like at some point you hand the reins over to a bunch of other people, a whole bunch of different writers and a showrunner or head writer or whatever, producers, and then you go work on something else. And at that point, you're no longer like obsessively there's not like the original singular vision obsessively nurturing the baby and like making all of those little tiny edits and changes, and like, no, we don't do things this way, we do it that way, that make the show what the show was originally. It just
Yeah.
gets like blurrier and blurrier and further away from its original vision, like naturally. Of course that's going to happen when you just bring in a whole bunch of other people to like babysit your child, right?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
could it be
We've
the
talked
same?
about that. We've talked about that in a lot of different contexts over many episodes where this is precisely the problem with scaling anything.
Right.
Whether it's like a restaurant that goes to like a franchise model or something like that. It can go very badly very quickly. We've seen it with YouTube channels many, many times. I'd love to call out the worst of them. I would love it. I'd love it. But anybody who's watching this certainly has subscribed to channels that have had a tough time with success. Basically, we've talked in detail many times over what it took not to have that happen with Vsauce 2 when I began working with you. You know, how do you do it so that it is exactly what it needs to be when all of a sudden there's another human mind that just is not a carbon copy? How do you then ensure that it is what you want without that paradoxically being twice as much work as just doing it yourself? Like all of this stuff comes into play. And I think that, you know, their particular show as well, it was is so dependent on it being them, that doing, you know, you can't just, what is the name of the book? Makes me feel like such an amateur. What is the name of the book that's like show Bible, right? You know, you can do that for a lot of different types of shows. And I don't think that you can rely on, you know, the tome that stylizes every detail with a show like Smiling Friends and have it be what it was. I just don't think that's possible in the same way as, you know, some crummy kind of thing that can run for 15 seasons. So they were in a bit of a pickle on that. And yeah, you know, I did see, like Mathwiz points out, you know, season 2 was, you know, Mathwiz thinks that it didn't punch as hard as season 1. Well, think about that too. When there's the first of anything, you are using the best material of your life. All the things that are amazing, funny. It doesn't matter what the genre is. You're pulling up stuff that you have stored for maybe 20 years if you're, you know, Zach's age, 30 if you're our age, and you're just slamming it there. And it's not like you use all of your bullets in, you know, the first video or the first season, whatever, but you use a lot of them because they're awesome and you've been waiting all this time to use them. But you know, they had 3 seasons, all of which are perfectly rewatchable indefinitely. If they'd gone 5 more, well, maybe there's a season you skip. You know, I feel like this with South Park, where there were some seasons that when you have however many, what is it, like 26 now or something?
Maybe more.
Yeah. They're just, they can't all be winners when you've got 26 of them. They can all be winners when you've got 3. They can all be pretty good. But yeah, you know what? You start ranking them and you get these, you know, back in the day with the like listicle style articles, you'd get these things. It's like all the seasons of The Simpsons ranked, you know, from worst to best. And well, what kind of article is the seasons of Smiling Friends ranked? That's a dumb article because there's 3. Who cares? Just watch them all. So yeah, it's, I don't know. You know, I wanted lots more. We're going to get lots more just of something else.
Yeah. What's interesting is they're sorry to cut you off, but I was just thinking how there are 2 shows I could think of, maybe 3, definitely 2, that were so funny that only lasted 3 seasons. One is Chappelle's Show.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm pretty sure that was only 3. And then and Chappelle had his own like very public and famous, what would you call, I don't know, escape out of the industry and out of the country.
Yeah, that was a lot closer to pushing the eject button on.
It
like
really was.
Jet.
Yeah. Like James Bond, sort of the seat shoots you into the stratosphere and you land in Africa. Like that was its own, like very different thing. And then the other show, which was very different, but ended too early in my estimation was Mr. Show with Bob and David. I'm pretty sure that was 4 seasons technically, but the first season was only like 4 or 6 episodes or something. I don't know. Either way, it was like a few years that Mr. Show ran, and then that was it. And these are all ended for different reasons. Like Chappelle ended his show for his reason. Mr. Show ended, I believe, for a combination of sort of fighting with HBO over the time slot, but then also like Bob and David and the crew being like kind of burnt out on it. Like it was a ton of work, and you just grind on that for several years. It's all you do. You eat, breathe, and sleep that.
Yeah.
And I believe so. They have a book. There's a Mr. Show book called "What Happened," I think, that I have.
Oh.
And I can't recall if it's in this book or if it was in an interview that I read, where it was either Bob Odenkirk or David Cross. It might have been Bob being like, you know what? I didn't want to put on another bald cap. Like if I had to put on one more freaking bald cap, like I was going to blow my brains out. Like at some point, like those kind of things just really bother you to the point, to a breaking point where you're like, I'm done. Like no more prosthetics and fat suits and bald caps for some stupid bit. Like I don't want to do this anymore. I would rather do anything else.
So I was thinking about somebody when I was talking about the people who are just incredibly talented and can do anything. I was thinking of Mark Gaddis in the UK, and then now as you've talked just now, I thought of him again, and in a few contexts. One of them is, if anybody is familiar, if they're fans of the British people, which admittedly becomes more difficult to do by the day, but if you're fans of a once great nation and culture, you would be absolutely used to shows being like 3-4 seasons, being incredible, and then disappearing. There are so many, especially comedies, that run for 6-episode seasons. They go for a few, you never see them again, and you wonder what the hell happened.
Yeah, like Mr. Bean and The Office both are like the most popular shows ever, and neither one of those have that many episodes.
No, and I thought of Mark Gaddis because League of Gentlemen ran for 4 seasons, and this was a fantastic comedy troupe series. And after that, his career has been wild. He was in Game of Thrones. He's in he was Mycroft Holmes in the Sherlock Holmes movies, I believe. He pops up all the time. Father Ted isn't a funny show.
Yes, yes. Who is Dark Plasmo? Dark Plasmo is actually my sock account, right? Where I make Father Ted references. Have I ever mentioned how much I love Father Ted on this podcast? Top 3 show comedies of all time for me. Huge Father Ted fan. Matt is a troglodyte when it comes to comedy and entertainment and just having any sort of sense of taste in general. And that's why he does not like Father Ted.
You know, there are a couple shows. I watch a lot of British TV, more than anybody I know.
You do.
I always have. I have. It's been a while.
But Father Ted is Irish.
What's the difference?
hey, buddy. There's a big difference. It's a body of water of difference.
You know, I have considerable experience on the island going back a long time. I basically am as primed to like this as anybody. And there are 2 shows that have completely and totally missed me that are unwatchable to me. And it's Father Ted and Doctor Who, where I've tried with Doctor Who multiple times and I don't want anything to do with it. I don't like it. I went back to episode 1 because I thought, you know what? Maybe I don't get it. We were talking, a week or 2 ago about the old stuff like Twilight Zone and Star Trek and all of that. Well, it's best to go back to the beginning and give it a go. No. That is just a stinker. congratulations to all the people who love it, the ones who have made it, have great career. David Tennant, I like him a lot. He had a good run as the Doctor. Yeah. Anyway, Father Ted and Doctor Who
are nothing alike, and like what an odd pairing
No.
that you would even compare the two.
That's why I wanted to throw them both out, because it's like every once in a while there's a British show that everybody loves and I like most, and I load the thing up and just like, never again. Like, I wish there were ways on like Amazon Prime and whatever that was like blocking on a social media site where it's like, never show this to me again as a suggestion, and anything like it, don't bother.
And
anybody who likes this show, no.
It's so irrational too, because you like black books, which is did you like the IT crowd?
Middling. It was okay.
Okay,
it was okay. I didn't love it, but
and
I
would
good.
rank them like completely opposite of you. Father Ted,
I like black
books, then
books,
IT crowd, and then black books at the bottom.
I like ranking. Black books a lot more than Father Ted.
So
it's superior.
Weird. It's so weird. The characters are so more blurry and less well defined.
Well, I do tend to like the older stuff too, like Only Fools and Horses. Which, have you watched that? I think you'd like that.
No. I've heard of it. I haven't watched it though.
Well, anyway, it's incredibly frustrating with British TV, and this goes in right to now with all the different networks. It's not just a BBC thing, where you just get this banger of a show.
And Father Ted, I think, is only 3 seasons. I think that's why Dark Plasmo brought it up. I'm pretty sure. It's 3.
Okay. Well, that's merciful that they didn't make more.
Right. Oh, yeah, Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, another great call out.
I don't even know that? I've never heard of it until this moment.
Unbelievably funny. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Oh, The Mighty Boosh, I hate too.
You do hate that, yeah, which I do like. And that was also only 3 seasons, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, people who watch these series are just so familiar with the rug pull. And they can be doing really well. They can be, season 3 can be just as funny as the best episode from season 1. It's amazing. And then for whatever reason, that's just the end of its life. But because there are only like 10 to 15 people who live on the British Isles, they have a shallow pool for actors and actresses. And so as you continue to watch British TV, they just pop up constantly. You see the same people all the time. And it's actually really cool. I like it a lot. And it informs, you can see in a thumbnail a new show and recognize somebody who you liked from a bunch of others and be like, yeah, I'm probably going to like that. And I always do. And that's how I feel about this, where I have a feeling this is not the last we're going to hear of Michael Cusack and Zach Hadel. It would be strange if it were. If they drop off the map, if they hide in a cave, then we'll talk about that a year from now. But I don't think that very funny, extremely high talent people who also love their audience, like they love the people who loved Smiling Friends. They respect them tremendously, from what I could tell. They like making people happy as much as they like, making their own animations and stuff. And when you get that combination, those people don't quit. They don't. They're going to be around.
Yeah, I mean, they created that studio last year or the year before, specifically to scale into producing other projects. Michael, if people are not familiar with Cusack's Creatures, the YouTube channel, I would highly recommend you go check that out and subscribe, because he's had multiple cartoons come out in the last like 6 months. There's been a lot of activity on that channel. Croc and Cube was very funny. I enjoyed all of that. And then Darren and Damo have returned, which is basically Australian Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah,
basically, which is like a long time series for Michael. I was sad that Koala Man didn't get another season, but
I like Koala Man.
I really liked that show.
Cool.
I wondered how much of Justin Roiland's canceling at like the exact time that that show debuted had to do with that show
Probably
not
probably
getting
a
picked
lot.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
didn't
But
help.
you know what? I want to extend this too real quick. So I want to ask you something. First, I want to extend this beyond Michael and Zach. They assembled like one of the best overall teams I have ever seen. It was like something on the lines of like the Dirty Dozen, the Miracle on Ice. It's crazy how they put together talent doing all of the other stuff. And so you get people like Hans and Brendan, who we've talked to on the show, and they're not done either. They're not. We're going to get great music and great writing and just all of this stuff in other shows from these people. So, if what was the band that Jimmy Page was in before Led Zeppelin?
The Yardbirds.
Yardbirds. That's what I. Yeah. So there were several people in the Yardbirds who went on to do incredible things in music.
Jeff
Yeah,
Beck, was he in the Yardbirds?
I think Jeff Beck was in it. One of the Crosby, Stills, and Nash guys was in the Yardbirds, wasn't he?
Oh, I don't know.
I might be
I
making that up.
was never a fan
Hopefully,
of
I'm making it up. Um,
them.
well, still, the Yardbirds were not around for long at all. They weren't, and they had pretty remarkable talent.
Clapton. So
Yeah,
Clapton was in there. Jeff Beck. I was right about that. Jimmy Page. Name that's ridiculous right there. It's like three of the
yeah,
greatest guitar players of all time.
yeah. If you stopped there for this band that was around for like 15 minutes, it spawned absolute legends. And I feel like that's what they did, and why the show was as good as it was is not just the two remarkable people, but they surrounded themselves with people as remarkable as them doing these respective roles. And go back and listen to the conversations that we had with people like Hans and Brendan, and this, it's fantastic. So what are they all going to be involved in? Who knows? But it's going to be great. At least their role in it is going to be great. So it's going to be exciting to see not just what do Zach and Michael do next. What is everybody in the Smiling Friends ecosystem do next that's going to be really good? So I'm excited about that. That now the talent does get to disperse and improve and affect a great deal of other projects. That's remarkable. So it's very much a Yardbird situation to me with that. I'm excited for it.
Yeah. They would bring all kinds of 3D sculptors and because all the mixed media that they did, so they would bring in all kinds of different talent, which is part of what made that show so special and so unique. A couple of things that I wonder. One is, why did we not get a Blu-ray of season 2? And does that spell, uh, dubiousness when it comes to like a box set of the whole show? Like, it would be really nice to get, after these last 2 episodes come out, to just get a complete series on Blu-ray would be really nice to me, to have that physically, because I do not trust these streaming
Yeah.
places to have the show in perpetuity. There's no reason to trust that they will do that. They've shown plenty of times in the past that they will wipe stuff seemingly arbitrarily, and I can't imagine a world in which you just can't access Smiling Friends. That would be horrible. So it'd be
Yeah,
nice
and
to own it.
even simpler than that is, are you going to be an HBO / I guess it'll be Paramount Plus
Subscriber, yeah,
subscriber forever?
forever, yeah.
It's kind of going to be my favorite combination. I'm looking good for a while on there, but 5 years from now, is it going to be something I subscribed? I don't know. I don't even know what it'll be. I don't know what it will be in 2 years. So if I have that physical copy, then that's a good thing. I only have a few, 10 Commandments. I have like 2 discs that I didn't buy to make a video. Yeah, Ben-Hur and 10 Commandments. I would add Smiling Friends to that. I would do that. I I'd expand to 3.
Yeah, that would be worthy. So yeah, I wonder if that's a thing. I'd really like that to be a thing. Throwing that out, into the universe to please make that happen. The other thing is, I do wonder, if it's even animation that they have on their
Yeah.
minds. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they came back with a live action or puppets or like it really, really, really could be anything that they could do next, that they're really passionate and excited about. And obviously would be their day one.
Part of me hopes it is different, because I just want to see, in that Mark Gatiss way, I want to see them being exceptionally talented in other genres, and just crushing it with all sorts of new, you know, I don't know what you call it when you come out of animation. It's not quite roles, but that would be awesome. But I wanted to ask you, Kevin, because it occurred to me just as we started this episode that I haven't had a lot of rug pulls with things I've been a fan of, because I like old things, and for me that means almost everything has been pulled in the past. My favorite band of all time was mostly dead before I was born. The shocking, tragic plane crash that changed Leonard Skinner forever. That was resolved before, whatever. Um, Elvis was dead before I was born. Kenny Rogers was aging, right? I was glad to see Kenny's farewell tour, but at the point that he did that, it was pretty deep in the game. It was perfectly appropriate that a guy who'd been, touring for like 50 years was going to be done. So I haven't had those, like, I'm committed in real time to this creative thing rug pulling me, whereas you definitely did with Nirvana. And were there others?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's weird to bring up. Yeah, the rug pull with Nirvana was really final. There was a lot of finality with that. We were not going to get to see
No.
what other projects Kurt Cobain was going to work on
No.
after that. So that was definitely a shock to like a way, way, way more serious degree
Yeah.
than ending Smiling Friends early. And that, yeah, was a horrendous, horrendous shock for everyone. Really, like that was not that it was like the most surprising thing that ever happened, but at the same time, it was like a devastating shock for everyone who loved Nirvana at the time.
Do you remember hearing about that? Were you devastated? What was, and I don't want to bring up like traumatic things, because I remember two things. One, people moping around for a long time in school, and then also on TV showing the crazy scenes nationwide of like
Candlelight vigils and like all kinds of gatherings. Yeah, there was a lot.
That wasn't happening for us on that like industrial scale. But what was it like for you?
Well, yeah, obviously it was devastating. The what I ended up doing was I like went way further into sort of obsessing over trying to gather everything that I could in terms of like bootlegs and like VHS tapes and like all of this stuff. Just not right when it happened, because that was
that 1994?
I think it was 94.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, it wasn't like I shrugged my shoulders and I was like, well, that's a shame. It was really like, no, like this is horribly depressing and I want to get everything that I can out of it, because I just miss it so much. So that was like a really particular and like strange example of this. I have like way less serious ones of shows that I loved. There have been a lot of shows that just ended way too soon. I mean, we mentioned a few comedy ones earlier. Deadwood on HBO was a show that ended way too early. Carnival was another HBO show that I really liked for like the aesthetics of that show. The whole like aura
It was
of that
something.
show was one of one. There
It
there
was
was not another show
before
like
its
that.
time. It was before its time completely.
It was so dark and creepy and atmospheric. That show I really loved. Clancy Brown was amazing on that
Yeah.
show. That ended too soon. Twin Peaks was a show that I was really into that got super weird in season 2 and then was over. And then that was that. I will say that I loved The Return, which Lynch and Mark Frost reunited on to do for Showtime
Mm-hmm.
7 years, 8 years ago, whatever that was. Huge fan of that. I was really thankful for that. So they did, kind of come back. That was one example where they did get an opportunity to come back to sort of close the chapter on a show that ended way too soon. I also would really like at some point to do a podcast about how uh, uh, like Lynch being such a kook was like reined in and sort of contained a bit by Mark Frost and that partnership resulting in Twin Peaks uh, really benefited, I think, Lynch in creating what I would think is the best thing that he did. That's sort of its own topic, though, regarding theories I have about creatives.
Do creative geniuses need a handler? Is the topic. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, the answer to that is often yes, in my opinion. And I think there are pretty strong examples that support my case for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Berserk was another. I mean, Berserk is a manga that has, I don't even know how many installments at this point, 40 something. And they did one season of an anime of it in 1997. Ended on like the most ridiculous cliffhanger you could possibly imagine. And that was it. It was over. It was like, I'm just looking around like that. There's no more. There's no more of this. And the answer was, yeah, there's no more of it. Sorry. Go away. I hope you enjoyed, that little slice of entertainment, but now it's done. So not to get like too philosophical, but I mean, there's a metaphor here, isn't there? About life in general. Like it's kind of
it's your own podcast. You can get as philosophical as you want. You're not a guest.
okay. Yeah, you're right. I'm not. So yeah, it's not I don't think ridiculous or dramatic to say that, there are parallels to what we're discussing to life itself, where
Yeah.
things are rolling pretty well for a little while and then they're not anymore. And
Yeah.
The show is canceled permanently.
That's the kind of the other side of the coin when I say I haven't been through the rug pulls. And I haven't. There have been people I've liked a lot who have had untimely demises. I'm going to surprise you, Kevin. I'm going to admit something that is a little embarrassing. One of the bands I like the most because I liked the vocalist a lot is the Cranberries.
Oh, okay.
I liked Dolores O'Riordan as a singer. Singular voice.
Yes.
There just wasn't one like it at all. She was fantastic, and she, of course, didn't make it all that long. We had that wave of her and Chris Cornell, who's that was a big blow for a lot to
Scott Weiland. There was
Scott,
it was like one
Scott
after
Weiland,
another
yes.
of like 90s singers.
Yeah. But on the other side, because when you like everything that's old, it disappears in a way that you're not going to get another one. And when it's a lot of them, then you see an era drying up and being completely gone. So yes, I didn't get a rug pull with Kenny Rogers. I didn't get one with Gordon Lightfoot. But at the same time, when the older stuff disappears, there's no hopefulness that's like, what are they going to work on next? How is Zach Hadel going to make me laugh for the next 50 years is not a question that I have with, like, Gordon Lightfoot. It runs its course, and at a point, an era is completely and totally gone, and that's its own freaky, odd feeling where, I downplay it and joke about it a lot, that there's this sort of disappearing world and generation, and the things that were important to you and that you see all the time are not there anymore. It's not a joke. It's completely real, where the people I valued, whether it's in my own personal life to who I see on TV or whatever, it's gone completely gone. And that's a jarring, weird feeling. So you get one kind of jarring where you wake up one day and realize that's the end of Nirvana for you. And then there's this other type of jarring where it's like there's a complete extinction of a way of life. That, what do you do? Because you're not going to go extinct. I've got, hopefully, 50 more years of kicking around. What do you do when all of it is replaying stuff from the past? That's its own weird thing, and there's just not going to be, even if there's a new batch in some way, it's not the same. Like, there were obviously bands after Leonard Skinner and country music people, after the ones I liked, who are really good at what they do, and I like their stuff. But it's not the same. It's just not the same. The content of it is different. It's people who grew up in a different era, so their own art is going to be different, even when it's kind of similar. So gone is gone, and I'm pleased that that's not what we're talking about here. That we're not talking the wholesale erasure of anything. But I do hope that, it's describing it as nostalgia is wrong, because nostalgia is a separate phenomenon. But when your entire identity is one that that has no emerging future, it is an odd type of constant surprise, and also like a low grade, like it sort of disables your personality constantly. It's a really terrible sensation, and I know that I have to deal with that for a long time. And this is, I'll wrap up my portion on this. There's also the responsibility of being, you're like, how many of me are left? If I'm at the tail end of this thing, there aren't hundreds of millions of me. So there's
last of the Mohicans,
if you want to call it that. Yeah, it really is. It really is a thing. So it's a dicey thing to deal with, all the time, and it is all the time. The Goop says, WTF is this? It's your grim future, Goop. That's right. This is what you're going to be thinking about down the line.
Isn't the Goop like what is that actress who sells vagina candles? Gwyneth Paltrow? Yes. Isn't that
that's her company?
Her company, the Goop. Okay, so
it's just Goop for her.
So
company.
Yeah, I just want to say welcome, Gwyneth, to the Create Unknown. Thank you for listening in.
Thank you for sponsoring us, Goop.
Yes, if you want to buy any vagina candles, click the link in the description. We'll get an affiliate link and make some money. So one of the other things I wanted to bring up is that I thought of that is not based upon any sort of knowledge that I have. So don't misconstrue it as far as Zach or Michael's feelings. So this is more of like a general thing, though, that I will ascribe a little bit to my feelings about Smiling Friends ending early. is it that it must be pretty strange, and I know this to like a certain degree with Vsauce 2 stuff, but not at all to the degree that Zach and Michael would for something as big as Smiling Friends, where it's got to be strange to deal with the amount of like low level negativity and like weirdness that gets attributed to the thing that you're creating. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but we live
What's
in
an
an era.
example?
Yeah, I just feel as though like we live in an era with the proliferation of social media and clout chasing and Reddit and all of this stuff where people are incentivized and actually rewarded for being weird on the internet
Yeah.
and coming up with stuff. Like, for instance, I had read a thing where people were really upset about like Pim being mistreated in certain episodes.
Oh yeah,
Like how
I
could you
saw
be
some of that.
mean to Pim? And
Right.
like, this is an outrage. I'm so upset. We should be all, pissed off about this. It's like,
Yeah, this micro analysis that seemed to connect it to like the morality of the people doing the show, and that was odd to me. And you just get people just fighting through the comments. Some of whom were saying exactly what you did, which is like, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you doing this?
yeah,
Like, this is dumb. It's a funny show. It's a good show. Pam
right.
isn't real. You're taking this oddly personally. But well, you're right though that did creep in at a certain point. Um, I don't know. I Part of me, I like that because I feel like it's a containment zone for crazy. I'd so much rather have a person thinking along those lines, spending hours a day talking about Pim than getting involved in something that actually matters in the world. Like please talk about Pim's treatment instead of debating about politics somewhere. Like, it's a good like playpen for them to waste their time in. So I find value in
I
that.
didn't think you were going to say talk about politics. I thought you were going to say like skinning small animals in your backyard. I thought like that's where I thought you were going with that.
Well, I mean, it could be worse. There are many worse things, but even just participating in something that actually affects people and matters, eh, at least they're talking about Pim and they're not mucking up something real. It's a slight silver lining.
Yeah, I just know that from doing, YouTube at a level in which a lot of people are watching, and you're going to get some strange people included in that, naturally, just law of statistics. Uh, it's stressful. It is stressful to think like, uh, how is this sentence going to be interpreted? Like, if I
Yeah.
say this thing, there is a non-zero chance that someone is going to go insane over this sentence, right? I mean, this, and we would go over scripts several times, and
Yeah.
sometimes, be like, oh, should we phrase it this way? How do we soften this? Is there some sort of way to
Yeah.
create like a modifier here that will sort of assuage the potential crazies? And if you're trying to
And
be
then
funny, like, it's not funny if you're softening everything. Like, you have to have some hard
no,
edges to comedy, and you can't just skirt around everything. So
no, and I recall many times, I'd be like, "Who cares?" And you would point out simple things like, "Well, you're not the one on screen using your real name."
yeah, yes,
Okay. If you
yeah,
want to play that card, go ahead. But
yeah,
no, I remember with the pizza video that we talked about what kind of pizza it should be because our like hardcore vegans, for example, going to start a thing in the comments if we use like a pepperoni pizza.
Right.
That was a completely valid thing to bring up because we'd seen it happen 100 times.
Yeah.
But that's the level. And thinking about it, about Smiling Friends, I didn't see really anything of substance with any of that, which means they did an exceptional job of making something raw and funny and awesome without it getting derailed by the stupidest possible communities.
Well, I'm sure there must have been some of that though. There's no way that there
Yeah.
wasn't like really like annoyingly idiotic, tiny little enclaves of people complaining about this thing or that thing with one of the jokes. I mean, you saw it with the you know who we're talking about joke that they did where
Yes,
all
yes.
kinds of different people were sort of ascribing certain groups to, oh, they meant this and they meant this. And when the whole point of the joke was to be vague and that
Right.
you're filling in the blanks. Here's a blank. You and your own neuroses and biases are going to fill this in however you want. That's the joke.
You know,
And then they did. They fell for it.
They did. They totally fell for it. I just typed in because I wanted to see what would pop up when I typed in Smiling Friends fascism, because this would be the thing that a bunch of people would grab onto. And the top result is it's a Reddit post because of course it says, I love Smiling Friends as much as the next guy, but is ... So I don't even know what this is, but we know where this is headed, right? We know where this thread is headed. And I scroll down a little bit, and there's a thing on Threads. The title is "Smiling Friends is literally a Nazi propaganda show." Did you know that?
I didn't. No, that's news
Well,
to me. Yeah.
Now
Shocking.
you know. It's using absurdity as a guise for bigotry and abject cruelty.
Ah. Okay.
I guess I should rewatch.
Yeah.
So this is definitely, it happens, I think, with anything as large as, as a big YouTube channel or Smiling Friends. It's like, and I remember we were talking to, I've got to pull this because I can't remember if we did not talk. This was a private conversation. We talked to a YouTuber who had a substantial following. And let's just say it was 5 million. We were talking to them offline about some of the IRL problems that they'd experienced, where they had people with, employing some bad behavior that made their life absolutely miserable. And if you think about it, if, you've got 5 million subs, if 1 in a million people are completely nuts, and that's not an unrealistic number.
It's more than that.
It's way more than that. So, but let's be safe and say it's 1 in a million.
Yeah.
If you've got 5 million subs, then there are 5 completely unhinged people who you're on their radar.
And all it takes is 1.
All it takes is 1. 5 is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
5 is a lot. So when you start playing around in a community that, sorry to all of you, but I have a feeling that the percentage of the unhinged in the adult animation community is higher than 1 in a million. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's more frequent than 1 in a million. There are probably like thousands of people who should be institutionalized who are massive Smiling Friends fans. I hope that's something that there have to be some really good stories there. Hopefully that don't have bad endings, but I just want to hear Zach tell the stories. That's all, because it would probably be the best thing I've ever heard. It could be the most mundane story in the world, but him telling it is going to be fantastic. I see at the bottom now that I've scrolled down, people also searched for, this is just a Google thing, is Smiling Friends problematic?
Oh, problematic.
Is it problematic?
I don't know. What does problematic mean? That's my question. What does that mean? To whom? For what reason? To what end?
Is yeah. Once people start talking about problematic, it's game over.
That's
Because
what I
it's
mean. Like that proves my point entirely. Is that like to create a thing that's so popular that there are people asking whether or not it's problematic, like
Mhm.
that must be really strange. You know, even if it's not, even if you are like the most easygoing, brush it off your shoulders type of laid back person, it's still gotta be weird at some level to
Mhm.
be like, yeah, that is weird that like I made this joke about like ketchup packets and that's being misconstrued as being like the ultimate evil
Uh, yeah,
by
there's
someone.
some.
And now other
eh,
people are upvoting it and talking about it.
This is a phenomenon that makes for really good art, by the way. Milan Kundera was a novelist who wrote a novel called The Joke, and it's about a throwaway line that the main character puts in, I think, a postcard that he sends to a sort of girlfriend. Total goofy throwaway line that happens to be critical um, the Soviet Union, where the everybody is set. This is set in like 1970 or something like that, and just you know the crazy fallout that ensues that affects so many people's lives and ruins his, and then what happens later. Um, it's very much that like snowball effect kind of thing over something that it was one line on a postcard that he never thought twice about, but then one of the censors in the KGB or something reads it, and all of a sudden everything changes for everybody involved, his entire life trajectory. And I was at least happy that nothing like that happened. The most kind of craziest thing is that deliberate Rorschach test of that one scene that you mentioned. Uh, but there was nothing that just turned into an idiotic thing, a big conversation about uh, Michael, Zach, any of the people. At least that didn't have a chance to happen. They didn't have to ever face a thing like what is what was the convenience store owner's name in The Simpsons?
Apu.
Apu. Yeah, you remember that.
Oh yeah,
The
what's wrong with or the Apu problem, or what was it called? There was
Yeah,
some documentary. I never watched it, but I'm familiar with it. The problem with Apu, I don't know, something like that.
thankfully that didn't happen.
Right.
Nothing
The
came
problem
up.
with Charlie. There's this like 90-minute documentary about how it's completely ruining the lives of an entire group of people.
They put out a show, and in particular a season, uh, through a time where it was easier to do that stuff because of the insanity of 2024 and all the political stuff. Never got roped into it at all. Not in any way other than like the odd loony on Reddit talking about what's problematic. Uh, but it just never crossed over, which was awesome to me. They dodged all the stupid bullets, and they didn't do anything so stupid themselves, to step into it, which is awesome.
No, and I think that's a testament in a lot of ways to why people like the show, is because it was just funny. Um,
Yeah.
that was the goal, is just to be funny and nothing else. And have characters like a melting snowman and the Crash Bandicoot look-alike that episode. I mean, whatever.
I'm looking at the chat. The problem with DJ Spitz.
DJ Spitz. Yeah, well, exactly.
So we had a good time with this show. We really did, over 5 years, basically. Right? Is that fair?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Also, I wanted to say, just in general, about I can't even imagine the amount of work that these two were putting into the show, because it takes forever not only to do animation, but to do animation at the level that they were doing it, where they actually cared about what everything looked like, how every character moved, whatever, little glance there was to, in reactions from one character saying something. I mean, everything was so hyper, it seemed like to me, hyper focused to make the best thing possible in a way that like a lot of other animations absolutely are not. Like there's a lot of stuff that gets churned out for these streaming places where there's no one going over every single frame with a fine-tooth comb to make sure it's as funny as humanly possible. There's no
Are you telling
way.
me? Are you honestly trying to convince me that the same amount of care isn't put into Loudmouth?
Loudmouth. Have you ever watched Loudmouth?
Yeah. Yeah.
How was it? I've never watched it.
I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know what's I say so many disapproving things about art in the world that it's almost like it's beyond like low-hanging fruit. It's what is the notch below midwit? There's got to be a notch below midwit.
One notch below it, dimwit.
I'd say one.
Dimwit is too far.
It's too far. So it's halfway between midwit and dimwit. Halfwit might do it.
Halfwit.
Yeah, halfwit might do it. If you take a halfwit who just has their greasy, cracked lips around a bong from like 5:30 p.m. until they pass out every night of their lives, they may very well enjoy Loudmouth and giggle at some of the stupidity. But yeah, it's kind of shocking when you see a show that I don't know, it's still going, isn't it? I think there are a lot of seasons.
I don't know. I thought that they were doing some other show where it's animals.
That's right. They have that weird like furry Loudmouth thing.
Yes, it's like Loudmouth for furries. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
furry mouth, fur mouth,
fur mouth. Yeah, the comparison is kind of not a good one in that the premise of that show being like navigating puberty with all the characters is going to lend itself to some pretty low stuff, some pretty crude whatever that's built in to the concept of that particular show. It's not like they jammed it in. But yeah, you look at the level of care and artistry that goes into a show like Loudmouth versus something like Smiling Friends, and we're not talking the same universe.
They're cartoonists. So Michael and Zach are cartoonists, and a lot of animated shows are not made by cartoonists. This was a thing.
Big Mouth. That's what it. Oh my God. Taekwon Joe. Thank you. Big Mouth is the show, not Loudmouth.
Oh, see, I didn't even notice the difference.
I can't even remember from when it came out. Big Mouth. Yeah.
But I wanted to mention Ren and Stimpy as being another show that was like by cartoonists. And the animation in Ren and Stimpy was wild. Like they would go all out on all, like, okay, the SpongeBob, like hyper realistic close-up thing, that's from Ren and Stimpy. Like that's SpongeBob did not invent that. But it's attributed to SpongeBob because we're old, and a generation who grew up on SpongeBob knew that SpongeBob did that, where, bloodshot eyes of Squidward or whatever.
Right.
But that was a Ren and Stimpy thing. If you're a big fan of animation, and then I would recommend you go back and watch the original Ren and Stimpy. They brought it back later for Spike TV, and it was like pretty horrible. But the original Ren and Stimpy had a lot of great animation because it was made by animators. It was a show that was made by people who cared about how the characters moved and like momentum of characters and all kinds of like little cartoonist and like nerd stuff. And I see in the chat that, did I say it was the last show in which creators would put that level of attention to detail? I don't think I said it was the last one. I don't mean to say that it's the last one or it's the only one. There are other shows, obviously, where the creators, pour over the show painstakingly and want it, to be as good as they want it. But I would say that's the rarity. That's, like the exception, not the rule. I would think most of them are, not really caring all that much for the reasons that I stated. They're not made by cartoonists. They're made by production companies who happen to do animation, and then they bring a whole bunch of celebrities in to do silly voices. And it's just a totally different product.
So you're saying that Ren and Stimpy was also about fascism?
Oh, I wonder what the Reddit threads about Ren and Stimpy would be if that show, came out today. They would be horrendous.
I'm just going to type the term in. Subversive and grotesque.
And the creator, or one of the creators, I believe, was Me Too'd. Like legitimately is disgraced. Yeah, John Kay, I think, from what I understand.
So, that's who I didn't know there were others. I just thought of him as being the guy for Ren and Stimpy. Am I wrong about
him
that?
And Bob Camp. I think of Bob Camp.
Bob Camp. Yeah, that's
being
right.
The other guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I do know is that Vsauce 2 was on the surface about things like math, science, technology, but deep down was really about building the fascist movement globally.
Isn't everything at this point? Is there anything that gets put out that isn't accused of doing such a thing? I'm not sure that there is, by someone somewhere at some point.
Yeah. The whole structure of having 3 channels was meant to be a modern day version of a Roman triumvirate. This is all by design. And if you didn't see it, if you were one of the sheeple who
a Roman triumvirate, who talks about that? No one says that. no one ever talks about Roman triumvirates.
If you were one of the dumb sheeple who really thought it was things like, could I survive, the speaker blowing up in Back to the Future, if you really thought that's what it was about, you're hopeless. There's no hope for you at all.
No, it was about aqueducts and coliseums and bread and circus. Romulus and Remus. I don't know, other Roman things I could throw out.
I want to throw something at you that I can't even articulate. Okay, so I'm preparing you for a question that is incomplete and very bad. Do you think that there was any role at all here that was about the rejection of using AI in some capacity on the show?
Oh, I don't think so.
Is it possible that a studio, a channel, anything would say, hey, we know that you can use this tool, that tool to churn this out at a faster schedule, for example? I'm just making a thing up. But some sort of pressure, budgetary pressure, anything like that, where they say, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, I think that if they were someplace else, I would give that a chance. With Adult Swim, I don't think so. That
makes sense.
I don't know the people at Adult Swim. I've never spoken to any of them, but my sense is that it's like one of the only corners of television where they seem to care about creators and their vision. I mean, look at Ha Ha You Clowns. It's like, Ha Ha You Clowns is a weird show. That show does not get funded or greenlit by anyone ever aside from Adult Swim, where they go in and they say, you know what? This is great. This bizarre send up of Home Improvement. That's like kind of horrific. And all of the characters are terrifying to look at. By the way, I really like that show and would like to get Joe Kappa on The Create Unknown to talk to him about it. But just the fact that show exists, I think, is proof positive that Adult Swim is like probably the only place where they wouldn't, hold a gun to somebody's head and be like, you have to actually do things in a way that you don't want to. I don't
Right.
think so. And even in their statement, Michael and Zach were pretty like profuse in their praise of how understanding the people at Adult Swim were about ending the show and keeping sort of the door open there and all of that for the future. So, which of course, like, why wouldn't they? Of course, they're going to keep the door open. Like, of course, you want to work with those guys more. Why wouldn't you? Unless you were vindictive, and which that also does happen in Hollywood. But
Yeah.
so I guess, I argued myself out of that position instantly, but still, yeah.
This is my greatest debate victory on the podcast. Is just ignoring you for 60 seconds and
Yeah.
having you take care of it for me.
I did that in an episode where you were traveling. No, it was when you were sick, and I did a solo episode, and like literally by myself, I had an argument out loud with myself, and changed my own mind. I won. The other Kevin won the argument against this Kevin, and I
Balloon
ended up
Kevin
conceding
finally
victory.
wins.
Yeah.
For the oldest fans, for Jeff Strife, we'll get the Balloon Kevin reference and like two other people in the world.
Yeah. Right.
No, that's
Exactly.
fantastic though when you can pull that off.
Yeah. So anyway, we will look forward to whatever their next project is. I will definitely reach out and see if they want to come on the show and talk about all this at some point. If not, that's okay too. If yes, I hope so. I'm going to throw this out there that I want a serious answer as to why there was never a Nothing But Trouble reference in Smiling Friends.
We've got 2 episodes left.
Right. Okay. So it could still happen.
It's possible. It's possible. And then there's I have a similar one where I'm not even going to bring it up. I'm not going to
Don't spoil it.
jinx it. I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not, the world can take its course. Nature can happen here. And when the book is finally closed, if I don't see a reference to this, I will be disappointed on some level.
Okay. Well, I look forward to knowing what that is. And I already, put my cards on the table that I really expected the boss to have a penis nose and eat like a hot dog. So I had a whole thing in mind where, the boys get sent to what ends up being the judge's house, and you have like the whole thing. It writes itself, right? You have the train with the mustard on it, and the judge could be Mr. Boss or like his evil twin or a cousin, distant cousin, something like that. I don't know.
Think of the people you'd get, like the Bobo and Little Devil.
Yes.
Yeah.
The John Candy rolls.
If they can real quick just redo one of these 2 episodes in the next 2-3 weeks,
I know.
it would be. I know a young man out on the internet who would appreciate it quite a lot. This, yes, this is what you do: is you fake a terrible illness, and this is your Make-A-Wish.
Yeah. Win one for the Gipper. Win one for the Lieber. Yeah. Just a big nasty sausage slathered in train car mustard.
That's right.
Can a guy ask for anything more than that? I don't think so. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. We wish Michael and Zach well on their new projects. Hopefully we can find out more sooner than later. I'm looking forward to the 2 episodes that are coming out. And yeah, if you didn't know about Cusack Creatures, go subscribe to that YouTube channel. Great stuff on there. Recent stuff, recent uploads there. And otherwise, we will be back next week. And until then, we will see you, Space Cowboys. Goodbye.